Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining today's panel discussion. This is titled From eID to EU Digital Wallet, Advancing Digital Identity in Europe. Christopher Magnan, just to give a brief introduction. For those who did not attend yesterday's lively discussion about third-party cybersecurity risks, I am from the United States, and I'm a technical director focusing on smart cities and Internet of Things. And I've written many articles on cybersecurity for IoT and smart cities. And to my right is Dr. Josina Rodrigues. She is a blockchain advisor from Portugal. She received the first PhD in blockchain. She's worked over 20 years in the corporate world as a marketing director and as a consultant and advisor for several enterprises. She is also a professor of digital economy and an expert in digital transformation. And to my left is Rayna Stamboliyska, a local Parisian, and she is a renowned strategy and foresight practitioner specializing in EU cyber diplomacy and resilience. Her expertise lies in cybersecurity, strategic autonomy, and data protection. She is an award-winning author and advocate of open source data and science. She is also a member of the Women for Cyber Foundation and associate professor at Sciences Po Paris and an independent expert at ENISA. She is committed to educating people outside the industry and security threats and best practices, and is a recognized speaker on information security. And for a legal perspective, we have Mauro from the Netherlands. He has been active in the crypto market since 2016 and founded his first cryptocurrency in 2019, which he sold during his last year of law school. He is also a chief compliance officer, and this year he transitioned to eIDAS, focusing on digital asset management and custodio in the Netherlands, and is also responsible for risk governance and ethical conduct frameworks. So first, we're going to start off with a presentation, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, given the different backgrounds. So, sorry, is it working? Yes? Yes. So, given the different background, the diversity from everywhere, thanks PCB, I would like to share just a quick introductory video about what is digital wallet, just to see the opportunities and how big is the moment that we are living, business speaking. So please. So I know there is a promo. I know that is beautiful to see. But the good side to analyze this opportunity is, okay, we started with challenges, but this opportunity, So it is, but it was my fault because the link was not working. They are great. Thank you. So instead, everything's happening. We have a lot of opportunities for our business. We are talking about data privacy, and you talk about cybersecurity. We just finished a panel about AI. So, as Christopher presented me, my specialization is in blockchain, and everything here, we are talking blockchain-based. So we have a couple of different challenges, but a lot of opportunities for our business. Our clients, they will need a lot of support. But we are talking about diverse national systems. We are talking about legislation and regulation that we'll talk, that Mauro will analyze better. And legal and regulation differences. We are talking about interoperability. It's very hard. I know that if we're talking just about how can we manage our European identity here, and in the same wallet we have a lot of information about our family, our health, our driver license, our personal lives, it's quite
intrusive.
Thank you. Also, but we can see that we have challenge, but we have opportunities. And privacy and the data concerns. We have data in another level because we're mixing with AI. We just finishing a panel about chat box. What is ethical? The first frontier we have what is legal. The second one, what is ethical? And the third one, make I do money? Make I make business with this or not? So we can solve problems, okay? Our perspective is solve problems. And first of all, we need to know a lot of different scenarios that digital wallet can bring. So please, if you can change the cybersecurity concerns, we know that we have. We have payment and financial services. This is my specialization. If someone wants to talk about data privacy and cybersecurity, how can you manage digital assets, please call me. Travel and tourism. And here, everybody that comes from different countries, from France, can organize everything with our new wallet. So booking flights, hotels, organizing Uber, Michael, restaurants too, everything about our agenda. I know that you're from United States and you have another kind of mission to understand and to import this kind of concept, but it's a great opportunity to work together. And government services, it's another kind of perspective. But now they are trying to find, and I have a couple of different sites showing different projects that are based in European Union, that they are helping companies to create solutions for our business here. So we have entertainment, telecommunications, as you can see, fintech innovation. Cybersecurity in this moment is considered also cybersecurity innovation. So you can manage this kind of regulation from your perspective. So just to change just a little bit for the next slide. So we are in the last step. Last June, here in Paris, they assigned our pilot implementation. We can say that legislative process, and Rayna will talk about, there's a mix of different interests and different profiles with different results. But they'll create a toolbox that you can say only digital wallet toolbox, and you can see there, and mix with your business profile and try to find how apply. After you have large-scale projects that they are very interesting in 11 different areas, and we can use this in our daily business. Why I'm talking this? Because PCB invited me 2019 to talk about blockchain, and it was very hard because blockchain is not a cryptocurrency. It's a very simple, structural, technically speaking, that can solve traceability, transparency, completely involving, and you can solve a lot of data problems. And this pilot implementation started last June. They signed here in Paris, and I'm provoking you to talk and to try to research about this, but can show you opportunities for your business. I'm talking with partners, I'm talking with businessmen, and I'm talking also with researchers. So it is a moment that European Union is changing, not because a legislation. It is because blockchain that created metaverse, AI, and a lot of ways to maximize productivity and reduce problems with legislation, political, and data. But we know that it's a promo information. So I will just finish here, that it's not finished, and the last one is only to say what happened here in June, that it's happening now. We have pilot projects implementation. In this moment, we are living this, and we have 11 different areas, mainly with your business, and if you want to know more, we can talk after. So now, please, Christopher.
Thank you, Josina. I'll start with Rayna. What are your initial concerns of a digital wallet with fundamental human rights and freedoms?
So one of my concerns is, it was very interesting and shown on the video. This is my ID, right? Very simple French ID card. I don't need this to go and shop for my beautiful red shoes, right? The way I understand the implementation of this digital wallet, this identity wallet, is that everything will be mixed up. Is I will need this. We don't know exactly why, but I will need to show a proof of who I am to buy a pair of shoes, which is kind of a, overdoing it a little, right? And then before we even dive into the question of technology, let me just say something that is very like an evidence to me. Technology is an answer to a question. It is not a solution to a problem that is, what society do we want? How are we approaching people? Because that's what we're talking about. How are we approaching people's right to say, no, I don't want to have a digital ID and everything into it so that I can go and buy shoes online. I don't want this. So how are we approaching the question about fundamental rights and freedoms here when the ambition that the Commission has set is that we have 80% of Europeans with digital ID by 2030. 2030, it's 6 years apart. We don't have a business model. We don't know exactly how we are going to solve fundamental technological issues such as unique identifier or not. Unique identifier, as it is now in the eIDAS regulation, is unconstitutional in Germany. So are we going to force this on some of the member states just because we think it's fun to go and buy shoes online with digital ID? Digitalization is something that leaves a lot of people on the sidewalk just because they are not able to cope with what's happening, and we cannot do this. If we talk about means to say who we are, those means need to be inclusive, not leave people on the side just because they're too old or they don't want to have digital identities, regardless of whether that's blockchain, AI, or whatever buzzword you'd like to use, right? So that's one of my first concerns is who is this digital ID for, and how am I going to be represented there? For example, you have a very big buff between the Commission, the Council, and the Parliament about pseudonyms. What does it mean? It means standing here in front of you today, this is my identity for the French state, right? But on the other hand, I also have an identity as a buyer of beautiful red shoes, again, because that's the most beautiful color there is, and you cannot argue with me on that. But also, I am someone who likes, I don't know, who teaches at the university, and I have a different way of approaching people there. I have a different avatar there. With you today, I have a different avatar to this one, which, by the way, is a terrible picture. And so on and so forth. So how am I going to have all those multitudes of me into one wallet? This is through pseudonyms, this is through avatars, because I don't want Amazon or Facebook or anyone to know that I like red shoes and to know where I've been born, what my health status is, and so on and so forth. So this is something that we need to figure out as a society, like how far do we share what we are, who we are, with whom do we share those things, under what conditions, and what control can we have over this. And if I want to be pseudonymous for most of the players out there, I must be allowed to be so, because that's how it is today. So the question is, if today most of my activities in my everyday life do not require me to show a proof of identity, why should it change when we bring about a digital ID wallet, right? The second aspect of my concerns is, well, business model. How are we going to fund this? Who is going to fund this, literally? And is this something that we need to be making money out of? I am not here like some sort of, far lefty, crazy person, but we do have a society question, which is, do we need mandatorily to make money out of who we are? And we are not having that conversation. We are rushing into implementation of something which will have a very profound impact on how we interrelate to people and to institutions. And if we dive into the whole technology aspect of things, we have a very serious question about certification and about levels of insurance, because so far we have two very different approaches to different concepts of certification and level of insurance. One is the eIDAS concept, and the other one is the Cybersecurity Act concept. Those come from two very different worlds. One is digital identity, and the other one is cybersecurity. They overlap. But digital identity is not all about cybersecurity. It's about people, it's about proving an identity, how we protect cryptographic hashes, whatnot, you call it, like the technology you decide to implement. This is, part of it is a cybersecurity issue. And today we have not the slightest beginning of a convergence between those two worlds, which for me, the whole digital identity thing as a cybersecurity professional is a very challenging question, because there are a lot of things that I just don't understand from the identity world. So we need to come up with a situation where there is a framework of rules that is not voluntary, the way it is today, and that covers the whole realm of identity, not just the technological implementation of a solution that we don't know what problem it solves. So far, I'm done. Now that I have, made you all feel very, very depressed, I'm sending it to Mauro.
I was going to say, we all love red shoes.
You're scared, that's why, that's why. Yes, sure. Yeah.
Okay, Mauro, from a legal perspective, what are the regulatory and compliance barriers for adoption?
Yeah, I think we've seen some great points. I think from both ends, we're seeing, well, at least on paper, a very good opportunity of how it could work for Europeans. I think the phrase we're going to use is, I think it's for convenience, which they've shown in the promo. But I do really think there are concerns, which Rayna said. So from a regulatory perspective, we'll take one step back. So before this digital wallet ID, there was the eID, which is a electronic identification card similar to the ID, but every member state could, well, build it themselves. So we've seen Belgium, which has an active eID. In the Netherlands, well, there's basically nothing.
Estonia.
Estonia is far ahead of the curve.
It was the first country.
And then in Germany, there's an issued eID, which they said to the European Commission, we really want this to work in the entire EU already. But all those countries are not ready for it. So, and that's already one step back. It's the ID before this. So for this ID, we're seeing member states that should incorporate an interoperability system, but then again, they have different legislations for AML. We have different ethics among our member states. We have different availability of technology, different infrastructures. So we could look at this regulatory framework and say, okay, we like it. Well, we don't, but even if we like it, it's going to be such a hurdle to implement it among the entire EU on the same level. And then there's a lot of concerns that mainly revolve around, well, we're building one gateway for basically all the databases that we're in. I think for Dutch people, it was every person is in 1,200 different databases. So, and one database knows your sports club, they know your email, they know your phone, but combining all those, your shoe purchases, yeah. But combining all those into one digital database with your medical records, with your well, criminal records maybe, with your purchases. And I think my main concern is that this is going to be a project that connects private and public companies. So if it was only for public companies, I would say, okay, we can focus on building something secure, but we will only use it in, well, public administrative duties. But now we're going to give access to private companies. There was an example at Philips. I think everybody knows Philips, the electronic device maker. That internal documents leaked that they're smart toothbrushes, so you can connect your toothbrush to an app. They're scraping all the data, and they were thinking of selling it to health insurance companies for them to make more money. So we all know data is gold, and all private companies are, well, trying to monetize this. So I think there's a great concern as well for building one database that's going to connect all the databases, because we'll have a single point of failure, and right now it's not built in scale yet, so it's not been challenged in scale yet as well. So are we really going to give all those risks? Are those worth the, well, in my opinion, minimal benefits we'll have from such an intrusive system?
So would zero knowledge proof solve these problems?
Well, that's a very interesting topic. So, well, I'm not going to put people on the spot, but let me see some hands. Who has heard of zero knowledge proof? Okay, wow, cool. I'll start really at the basics. So, zero knowledge proof is a cryptographic method. So it's not a cryptocurrency, you know, the blockchain is a method, actually older than Bitcoin itself. But, and the method allows you to verify, digitally verify a statement without revealing the actual data. So it sounds fake, but here's some examples. So you can, at a vendor online, you can prove you're above the legal age, which is 18, yes, right here, right? Yes. Without revealing your date of birth. You can go to the bank and prove you earn enough for a mortgage without revealing your salary. Or you can go to social services and prove you live in a specific area code without revealing your address. And this is done with a cryptographic method that would allow your data to be in a hash, which is a cryptographic key, and it could be backtested. And then you can have control over what are they testing, what is the statement, and you can prove it without revealing your entire data. So having a zero knowledge proof version of your identity card, it would mean that no one has access to all the information that you allow on it, but you can go everywhere and say, okay, I allow you to check this statement, and I can prove the statement without revealing all my personal data. So I think that's a great opportunity there for what's going to take years probably for this to become mainstream. I don't think banks don't want to give up having all this data, and private companies neither. So it could, but it's going to take years, not only for the regulatory aspects of it and the technology aspects.
Okay, thank you very much. So given the societal concerns, the regulation and compliance barriers, and the lack of homogeneity with technology, what are the business opportunities that are motivating people to adopt digital ID?
We can say that we have always two perspectives, opportunities or challenge. My first paper using blockchain, it was with healthcare, using blockchain and interconnecting data. Yes, how dangerous it is. But imagine, you're pregnant, and you received information that you have a health problem with your child, and how the government will take care of your child during all his life. So this kind of concern that is possible because we are managing data, how can you, the question is, how can data can be human? How can you solve our real life problems with data? Even though there are risks, but we are all professionals about cybersecurity. So even though, so my first paper was working in this kind of concept. How can we interconnect, even though all the problems and the business opportunities we have working with data, we have in healthcare during COVID, so many different examples. I can pass 2 days here giving you, and now you have medicine, you have, they are using in health stabilization against traumas. For example, we talked during COVID and we had issues, problems, yes. And it was very hard to try to find someone. So how can I manage all these real life problems using, now we are talking about wallet. And yes, I have this one, but I have the old one identity too. So we have in health, healthcare, we have in tourism, we broke it 2 years, almost 3 years, all the sector, all over the world, supply chain. We have a couple of different opportunities. In supply chain, we can see that even though the United States was completely dependent from China. My daughter, she is living in the United States, and during COVID, there is no transportation prices. It was everything stopped without transportation. So we have so many opportunities, business opportunities to develop. It's not only in data privacy, but I would like to talk with you personally. Oh, I'm working with data in, for example, education. All our license, our diplomas, our courses, everything can manage. And if you are hiring someone for a job, you have all the documents. Yes, I know a lot of concerns, but I know a lot of opportunities too. We have always in life 2 ways to see, half empty or half full. So we are here because we are business men and women, and we need to find, and I think to PCB, because always PCB show a very different subject and very struggle to talk, but we are ahead. We are ahead. We have time to move. So it's my answer that is not an answer. It's only to provoking, to think about, and to analyze what is happening. So.
Okay. And from an engineer's perspective, the glass is neither half empty nor half full. There's just too much glass.
Wow.
So, Rayna or Mauro, would you like to expand upon?
Yeah, allow me to respond. I get what you're saying, that it's going to be useful or convenient in a lot of ways, but I don't see why my supermarket needs to have access to the same app of my medical data or my job profession or whatever data. And we've seen the video that you can just say, okay, I don't want them to know this and I don't want them to know that. But we've all seen with the cookies, we all press accept all. So, well, probably not the people here, but for 99% of the people in our daily lives, they do. And if you're going to build an app that has so much data, not just 3 or 4 options, but for every vendor or everywhere I have to use it, I'm going to go through 200 stuff. No, I don't want them to know this. I don't want them. People are not going to do that. So I don't see why we're taking the risks of all these for an app that works with both public and private sectors. So why should all commercial parties involved, all the, well, probably the Facebooks and the big techs and everyone, well, they already know us, but I don't see why that weighs further than the business opportunity for such a thing like that. So either do it for public information only, or only do it for private. Yeah.
Yeah, if I may pitch in. No more talking of shoes for today, but please read the privacy policy. I always do. It makes me cry, but I do. So we have different aspects here because we are in France. The French have the second oldest privacy legislation in the EU. The first is the Germans. And the very first installment of France's Loi Informatique et Liberté, so the stuff that's 80% now in GDPR, it happened in '78 because of this precise approach where people wanted to make one big database of everyone in the country. And a lot of people were very much opposed to this, and that's how France's privacy framework came to be, right? So I wasn't born at that time. Sorry. Some of us are vintage, others are not. But again, 80% of this framework is now in GDPR. And GDPR is not about how you do your registry and did you name a DPO and what diploma that DPO has and blah, 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 blah. All that stuff. It's about protecting the fundamental right to privacy. That if you read the sanctions in GDPR, Article 83, this is literally how it's spelled out. If a breach has a significant impact on people's rights and freedoms, then you get a huge slap in the face, up to 4% of your blah, blah, blah. You know this. So we're in a situation where that discussion is pushed even further. It's pushed not just to your cookies, to do I have an Instagram account or do I not? It's pushed to do I have to provide every potential employer with a very clear, medical record. In France, it is strictly forbidden by law. When you are an employee and you have to take a medical leave, it's strictly prohibited by law that your employer knows the reason, the medical reason. So when you transpose this to digital ID, it will be everyone gets in and takes whatever info they need, because the zero knowledge proof. Blah, it's an excellent method. It's an interesting one, but it never asks the question: will people accept to not collect that data, to not push us into revealing even more of ourselves? than we already have. This question has never been asked for real. French DPA asks that sort of questions, but to a certain extent, and there are other dynamics at play that may or may not be predominant. So this one is one question. Second question is interoperability. I'm a big fan of interoperability, but let's not, be kind of naive here. Interoperability today at the European level across business actors, across different actors, is governed by the Digital Markets Act, which is a very technical framework, and which we are seeing it now with instant messengers. Interoperability is good as long as the small actors are interoperable with the protocols of the big actors, of the gatekeepers. And we'll have the same situation play out when we'll be in the digital identity world, and actors will be declared gatekeepers for that industry sensu Digital Markets Act. And there will be in a situation where the digital identity by Google, by Microsoft, by whatever, you name it, people, smaller actors, will have to be compatible and interoperable with that. That's where our business opportunities will be not so great, because we do not have, as small and medium businesses, we do not have the means to match this, regardless of our great ideas and of our, great diplomas and so on and so forth. So this is something we need to think of, and we need to pay attention to how things are unfolding now, because instant messaging interoperability is to be done by 1st of January 2024, which is yesterday. Let's see how Telegram or your local alternative social media will be interoperable with WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or whatever.
Okay.
Yep,
Thank you,
up to
Rayna. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to open up the floor to anyone's questions, so please ask any questions to our panel.
May I questions or reflections, please?
No worries.
Hi, more of a reflection. I'm thinking as you're speaking, during COVID, when they did open up slightly, to go to a theater, I had to show my COVID card to every 16-year-old, 17-year-old that was at the door to get into a movie. I had to show my COVID card. And it has my age on it. And so I don't care if I'm 14 years old or 24 years old or whatever, 104. It's not their business. Mm-hmm. And now they're going home saying to their mother, did you know? Did you? And it's like, not that I care about people knowing my age, but somebody could have a big concern. Mm-hmm. And it's not their business. And now they have this information. And now when I use my credit cards in the States in the last year, they will not take a credit card unless you show your driver's license that has your address, your date of birth. And a few years ago when I had to do this, I got a call from Macy's shopping mall, the store saying, somebody tried to open a card in your name. We cannot approve the card you gave. There was a freeze on your account. I put a freeze on my credit. You cannot open any credit without my calling me, and I give permission, even me. So, but they said, it's a freeze on your account. Can you please remove it? They had used my my address, my date of birth, and the credit card number as ID, and they accepted the credit card number, my date of birth. They would have issued a store credit card, charge card to them in my name if I had not had the freeze. I could not buy my tube of toothpaste without it. Mm-mm. And it's gotten to the point now where it's all the time because they've had problems.
Sorry.
So this is an issue.
Let me know where are you based and your profile.
No. So what?
Please.
So my question is, how I see that these are problems we have and there. So I do understand the concern of showing the card, but I'm wondering about which one is more intrusive and which one is scarier. Showing the cards or having to show all of our IDs and everything else to get into something in this area. And PECB recently started with the digital badges. You show the digital badge, people accept the fact that yes, this is it. I have no problem sending them my all of my things, but they want to see your the proof. You took the course, and they want to see the survey. They want to see all of this. It's very cumbersome. So I'm sort of caught in between myself on which one is more important. My concern is the fact that suppose that has happened in one of the past wars, and some leader had said, now I have all this information. I know who I want to imprison. So I can just go after the people with this genetic background, or I can go after this group, and we see the world hasn't changed. So my question is, how do you think that there could be controls in place to stop something like that happening, that it could just be shut off, especially in Europe, where you have, it could be one country, not the whole country, looking at history, World War I, World War II, or in the US, same thing. How do you shut off in a situation if you feel that there's an emergency, or have you opened a bottle that you can't shut? So that's my question.
Who wants to jump?
Is it okay? You want to take it?
No, take it.
Oh,
I
dear.
think it's about fundamentalism.
I think you just answered it. Like, I mean, you have a very strict, GDPR imposes very strict limits to what you can and cannot do. For example, something's called data minimization. You only collect data you need for the purposes of the treatment, right, of the processing, sorry, and so on and so forth. Then the question is, and you very rightly so point, change of regime, right? Because in a democracy, we can elect a dictatorship. That's what democracy is about, right? About the choice. And if we have a change, like a very deep change in political power, then anything that's been implemented becomes a tool in the hands of people who will not have our concerns there. So that's why I insisted and I said technology for me is like, I don't care, you call it blue, pink, or blockchain, it's all the same to me, as long as I know what this is a solution to. So far, I don't know what problem we have that has to be, and I'm saying has to be tackled through the pervasive and comprehensive data collection in a very short period of time that is set up through eIDAS too, right? So yes, we may very well let the genie out of the bottle and then be in very big trouble, because that's what future proofing is about. And we are not doing any as of now. We are just being ecstatic that some app on our phones can, be very convenient. Yes, but like it's always a trade-off. How convenient do I want things to be? If tomorrow I'm being refused a mortgage because I'm over, I don't know, 50 or 20, or because in my family history there is a history of women dying from breast cancer. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up, But that's the kind of things we need, and this is called future proofing. And we don't do future proofing in those approaches. So if there is one thing to be done, is not to say legislation stalls innovation and blah, 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 blah. It's to say, what society do we want to live in? And how do we future-proof current legislation? Because any legislation and any discussion that we are having about rules to live by, this is because we want to build a certain future. This is not because we want to regulate the present or even the past. So I don't know. I don't want to live in a future that looks pretty much like any dystopian movie out there on Netflix you have. So that's, and the fact that we are not having that discussion at the regulatory level, at the co-legislator level, or we are having it with huge difficulties, this is a huge concern to me. So I don't think this answers any question other than we are in deep bits. But yeah, we have to also take very technical questions closely and ask what society does it depict and does it create in 5, in 10 years' time.
I was just going to say, for everybody's knowledge, GPDR is a general purpose data regulation, which is a set of standards for data protection. In the United States, as I mentioned yesterday, regulation and compliance are contentious words. So we try to avoid, as an American, regulation and compliance as much as we can.
So we have a question here. Of course. I believe that will be the last one.
5 minutes.
Thank you, Manuel.
Thank you for the speech, and I can understand there's a lot of concerns on the table, and I think you voiced them up pretty well on that aspect. But from what I see, the digital wallet, whether you like it or not, it's happening, right? It has been decided. There's a framework for 5 years to get there, 6 years. So since it's happening and there's concerns, isn't there a framework of implementation, controls, or how can you audit that to get that comfort level? Because if it's happening one way or another, how can you have that level of assurance after that? So in the legislation, is there a framework that exists? How this will be auditable in the future?
I'll take this one. In my opinion, it's very limited to what we know of the technical and regulatory framework of this proposed digital wallet. They're not really focusing on how are, well, we've seen the promo, that's the highest standards of security. But that's about all they say. They're not saying how, they're not saying when, why. So no, I don't think that, I do think we should dive into this more. I don't have a clear question for you because, in my opinion, it lacks the crucial information that we would like to see to trust a project as such. So it is one of the concerns I wrote down, the lack of clarity, lack of how they're gonna do what they promised in such a promo video. But to add, this is a proposal. It's not yet a final regulation already. It's been passed by the European Commission, but not by the European Parliament. So we're still seeing...
You still have discussions.
There are still discussions, and it's not final. That's why we do not know everything. But to me, the main concern is, if we didn't know this already, then how are we gonna accept a thing as such?
And just one sentence, you will also have, that's why I spoke about certification and levels of assurance, right? Because this is something that will need to be done, but as we've seen with EUCC, EUCS, you know, the common criteria, the proposal for implementing Act was just published, not yesterday, the day before, for EUCC. I remember filling one public consultation in 2020, in the summer. We finally have an implementing Act proposal. We are in 2023, in October, okay? So if, and as soon as eIDAS 2 enters into, is published in the official journal, you have 2 years before it enters into force, right? And nobody says how long the certification with requirements for security will take to be created. It can be super long. And then, so does it mean that everyone will be just waiting and not doing anything just because we don't know? I'm guessing no. And then once this is published and so on and so forth, how long will it take for certifying bodies and blah, blah, blah to basically certify those solutions that are already there, since the Commission's objective is 80% of EU citizens by 2030. So, you know. Have another question.
Yeah, okay. I'll take one more question. I don't want to hold everyone up from lunch.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I'm not
And I don't
holding
want
up
to be
everyone
that
from happy
person
hour.
as well. Okay, so
Thank you.
let's share a few examples who had implemented such a system. And I would like to tell you, I represent my own company in the UAE. We are implementing security standards, and the UAE has implemented the digital identity based on our Emirates ID for citizens and residents. We have 4 years of experience since the federal government has pushed the digital ID, which provides us, once we signed on, provides us a way to authenticate as a second factor in every other federal government portal. I'll give you an example. We need identity and citizenship and ports approval for visa entry. So we authenticate to that system. We have visa for residents or citizens and so on. Another, for example, judicial services, notary services, we authenticate with that digital ID. So they store the basics, what is in Emirates ID? Name, date of birth, passport, country of origin, date of obtaining the residence, Emirates ID number, passport number. So it's not a problem to refuse to share this kind of data. And again, it provides a second factor of authentication to the other system. So it's good, but it's just for public consumption. Now, we don't mix public with private, right? We like government to do all this digitalization. We have mobile application, we have web-based applications for every government authority to simplify our life, so we don't have a username and password in every authority website. But keep it this way. Now, to give you another example, as you mentioned, Miss, you mentioned that elders cannot cope with this digital world. We have typing centers, a kind of service that has been implemented many years ago when dealing with government was more like paper-based and you needed to fill applications. A typing center provides that kind of filling in the forms. Now it is done online. So they have an account of a service provider. The elder just goes there with Emirates ID and someone does any application is needed by connecting on their behalf. So we care for elders. We care for people who are maybe illiterate. They don't know to read and write. We also have multi-language platforms. I just understand Belgium has at least 3 languages, so France has many languages. Are you ready to do multi-language for every application that governments provides? We have to do it as European Union likes to maintain that status. So these are some food for thoughts. And I want to tell you, we are not even touching the point of security, but this year, in April and May, we've been the target of Anonymous Sudan. Who do you think they targeted? The government data. And absolutely, we were terrified. From top down, we were terrified. They've gotten to all our data. They know everything about us. So don't imagine you will secure it. Don't even think about it. Just think how can you limit the data that is entered and for what use cases. Do not even mix up personal data and healthcare data. Try to keep them separated and shield them and get involved and learn about what their security standards will be, like NIST 2.0 has to be there and validated by private investigators. Don't let government. Government will want to, unleash the potential. I am pro-digitalization again. Government has done amazing things to automatize everything, but we have to not let them do things that they are not capable of. Thinking for us and for our protection and for our data. We have to help them get to the right direction. Thank you very much. And
Thank
again,
you for the addition.
UAE government and Smart Dubai has done amazing implementation. Smart Dubai is on blockchain technology. All government authorities of Dubai government are on blockchain. You can invite here anyone to speak about our implementation just for Dubai. I'm talking about federal government, which has done another implementation for federal authorities. So going like this, we have Ministry of Human Resources, so all employment files are online. All, I said residency are online, judicial services are online. So try to pick up what should be online and what should not be. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for joining. I hope everybody enjoys their stay in Paris as well as their attendance at the PECB conference. If you have any further questions, you can reach out to us. We're all on LinkedIn, and I won't hold up anyone else from lunch.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. And something interesting, because we have an intervention, it's just out of the session, from United States, from Canada, and from Dubai. Thank you very much. Your perspectives, they're great. Thank you.